So this is one of the biggest and hardest lessons that I had to learn as a media buyer and as a agency owner. And the fact that it took me so long to learn this lesson held me back for so long, and it held my progress back, my results back, my income back, my business back. And it's an easy trap to fall into, especially when you're just starting out. And it's very easy for me to say this now because I can look back with experience, but hopefully the right people who watch this video will get the message. So the overall lesson is this, and then I'll explain as well. The overall lesson is this. As a media buyer or an agency owner, as a marketer, as a growth marketer, whatever you want to freaking call yourself, because I know there's lots of different names flying about the internet these days. As a service provider, especially when it comes to like marketing, you should live by this mantra, is that we scale businesses, we don't build them, okay? We scale businesses, we don't build them. Because I just released a video probably a few days ago on my channel where I was talking about how we made, our client over $1.5 million a month in like a couple of weeks' time, right? Great result. I'm pretty proud of the work that we did. Our ads were great, cheap lead cost. We provided so much value in terms of we didn't only create the ads, manage the ads. We built the funnel, handled all the emails, helped with the strategy. We do everything for our client, right? So we definitely did an amazing job, and I'm proud of myself and the team mainly, right? They were freaking awesome. Very, very easy to make them that money, right? Because we did a good job. But I can't take all the credit. Like, our clients are fucking awesome as well. Like our clients, they could speak well on camera. They sold well. They had a good offer. Like, they had a lot of credibility and trust. So yes, our work was awesome. Yes, not many agencies, I believe, can do what we do. I think we're one of the best, especially for our niche. I believe we are the best in our niche. But it only works because our client's business already works, okay? So they already had like an amazing foundation. Like, before we started working with them, I think they were probably making about $500K a year, So okay business, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. I don't know the exact numbers, but so they already had like proof of concept, right? And they also had like, there's a few of the few business partners, and they all also had their own individual businesses where they were selling coaching and info as well. So they were experienced, they had a brand, they had credibility, and they were already making money. Obviously, we've tripled that with them, right? In a month. We made them $1.5 million in a month. Before working with us, about $500K in a year, right? So we've scaled them pretty well over the last couple of years, right? It's been about 2.5 years we've been working with them now, right? So we've done an amazing job. But the only reason we were able to do a good job is because they had the right, not even foundations, like they probably had a bit more than that. I'm probably not doing them enough justice there, but they had the right foundations and they had a good solid business to work with, and we were able to scale them, right? Because here's the thing. They already had like the business and the offer. They just needed someone to help them with a scaling strategy. They needed someone to drive more traffic profitably so they weren't capped by the organic audience. I got some notes down. They wanted someone to, optimize the funnel. They needed a team to handle kind of like the setup, the funnel building, the marketing, the email marketing. So it could not only we could improve it, but also to save them time from doing it. So they could focus on their own zone of genius. And obviously, they'd tried a few different service providers before us, and they wanted someone who could be organized, stick to deadlines, and communicate extremely well, which I believe we do a really great job at. So that's what they needed. What they didn't need was to help someone dial in their niche. They didn't need someone to teach them how to speak confidently on camera. They didn't need someone to like coach them on how to sell live. And they didn't need anyone to help them put their program together. They didn't need us to help them, help with any sort of fulfillment. As soon as someone buys, pretty much our responsibility is kind of gone in terms of like, we help set up the initial fulfillment emails and make sure people are inside the community and the coaching program. But like after that, like we don't handle anything. We don't advise them on, oh, you should do this coaching call or do that. We don't do any of that, right? And I can tell you from experience, I've done all of that all of the above for previous clients in the beginning. When I first started out, I was signing clients that had an idea, but they'd never actually sold a coaching program before. And I was helping them do everything. Because I had experience, I had already worked with a coach, like as a job. So I already had an idea. I obviously knew how to market and sell, but I also knew like what's inside of a coaching program looks like, et cetera, et cetera. So I've done all of the above for clients in the past, and it was a fucking nightmare. An absolute nightmare. I was building their entire business. I not only had to write the ads, manage the ads, build the funnel, make sure that the funnel converted, wrote all the video scripts. I had to teach the client how to like present and sell on camera. And then I had to help them with the coaching program in the back end, to show them like what needed to be included. This is how you create the community. This is how many coaching calls you should have. Helping them like organize the fulfillment of that, sending out the emails, getting the clients to get on the call. I was doing everything. I was literally building the entire business. It was just that person did the coaching or they had the idea. And I was getting paid peanuts because this client wasn't already making money. So they couldn't afford to pay me a lot of money. Like we'll get paid like up to like 30 grand for a client's launch right now, right? So, and we don't get paid that by every client. That's the most we'll ever probably charge, right? So I'm not trying to sit here and be like, oh, all of our clients pay us 30 grand every single month. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But for our bigger clients where we do live launches with them, we can get paid anywhere between, 5K, 10K, 20K. And like I said, it's been up to 30K. Again, not every time, but it's been that high, depending on the results. A beginner coach who doesn't have a fucking client yet ain't going to pay me 10 grand to help them with the launch. Or they don't even have 10 grand to spend on ads to actually get enough people through the door. So you're fighting a losing battle because not only are you doing all the work, all the responsibility lands on you. Because if you spend some of the money on ads and it doesn't work, it's all on you. Because you're the one running the ads, you're the one who built the funnel, you're the one that's coming up with the offer, you're the one that's helping them with the niche, you're the one that's teaching them how to sell. So you've got the entire responsibility of the business and its success on your shoulders. So if it doesn't work, you're the fucking bad guy. It's all your fault, right? It's not the client's fault because they didn't technically do anything. Like they came to you as the expert, but they don't pay you for it. So you're trying to build the entire business. And I was doing this. I was getting paid peanuts, right? I had like some retainers in the beginning was like $750 a month, $1,000 a month. I got up to like $1,500 a month, but that was me building everything and helping them do everything. And it was an absolute nightmare, right? It's not good. So my biggest advice is we scale businesses, we don't build them. So if you've got a client approach you and they don't have proof of concept, they don't already have clients before, they're not already making money, like you have no business signing them as a client. Like if they're below like 10 to 15K a month, you have got no business signing them as a client, right? How are they going to pay you 5K a month if their business is only generating 15K before expenses, right? The math doesn't math, as people say. And I know it's difficult. And I knew this, by the way, because I've had a few nightmare experiences where I signed the wrong client who were too in the beginner phase. But you get on the phone with someone and they're pitching you the idea. And I'm confident in myself. I'm confident in my own ability. And the client is like, oh, well, I don't have any money to pay you up front, but I'll give you like 15% of the profit. So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, well, I'm confident. Like they seem like a nice person. I feel like I can make it work. If it does work, we can make all of this money. If we scale them to like 100K a month, I'll be bringing home like 15K. And like, I start when I'm presented with that idea on the call, I start thinking about the best case scenario. But it just doesn't happen. It just never happened. And maybe, you might say, oh, it's because I'm not a good marketer or whatever. I don't really give a shit. Like it very rarely happens when you're on that phone call. Like you think of the best case scenario. Oh, they're going to give me 15% profit, get them to 100K, 15K. That's like better than most of my other clients. But it's so fucking hard to get there, especially when it's not your business. The work that you need to put in to actually get them a business to 100K a month is a lot. And you're just not going to get them there, especially if the person isn't very skilled. If they can't sell, if they can't provide a good service on the back end, then you're not going to scale it that high. So I also fell into that trap where I'd feel like a lot of like empathy for the person on the other side and be like, oh, they're a good person. Like they've got a good opportunity here. Maybe I just like, if I work really hard and I take the hit in the beginning and don't really get paid much, if I have a percentage of the profit, then it could work out. It doesn't work out. Stop it. I romanticized too much about the idea of like scaling my clients' businesses. I needed to be more logical and be like, how much is this realistically going to bring me in if we just hit like realistic targets? So again, you can get caught up in the idea of like, oh, if I just sign like 2 of these low-level clients and I scale them up to like $1 million, I'm going to make all this money. Very hard to do that. I'm a good marketer, but I shouldn't try and build 10 different businesses, because that's what it got to. It got to a point where I was like, had 5 to 10 clients and they were all like beginner clients. And yes, okay, I had like 10% of the profit or whatever it was in the deal, but they were paying me nothing. And I was trying to build 10 businesses at once. It's hard enough to build 1 business from scratch. Don't try and build 10 because you're not going to be able to do it. Or at least I wasn't good enough to do it anyway. And I feel like I was pretty good. Like I'm a pretty good marketer. So what you want to do is, it's easier. You can scale 10 businesses at once because you don't have the responsibility of the entire business. It's usually just like optimize the funnel, scale profitably with ads, right? That's kind of like our process. So that was like the biggest lesson. And I know in the beginning, like it's hard because if you're working like a 9-to-5 job and you don't want to work it, and you're like, yeah, but I need money coming in, and you're desperate for money, then okay, maybe go and work with those low-level clients. But like, just understand, see it as, I mean, obviously you want to try and make money, right? Like you want to try and scale them, do the best you can, obviously. Go in with an optimistic mindset. But realistically, those first few clients, if you're just starting out and you take on lower-level clients, I know it's a bit of a shitty, like condescending way to describe them, but if you take on like lower-level clients, then it's probably just likely going to be a learning experience for you rather than like a profitable experience. But I would really urge a lot of you that once you do get your foot in the door of those first few businesses and you get a little bit of experience and you gain more confidence in your skill and your ability, try and then go after the bigger clients that already have a business and you're just going to scale them. It can be hard. You have to delay that instant gratification of getting, the money in the beginning. But, trying to scale 5 businesses or trying to build 5 businesses at once from scratch is so hard and it's so energy draining that it's just not going to be worth the money, honestly, for the most part. You're better off, again, if you're desperate for money and you're going to go broke and you're homeless, then okay, take the money that you can, of course. But if you're like not fucking homeless or starving because you can't afford food, then be a bit more patient. And I would spend more energy outreaching and trying to find that client that you can scale versus the smaller clients. Because here's the funny thing, right? Like there was like this year period that I transitioned from having those lower level clients and trying to build them from scratch, where I was still working with some of them. And then I signed this one big client in particular that was scaling, right? Who I was scaling. And about 12 months passed where I was, well, probably a bit more than that. You see? God, I'm such a content creator these days that my card is full of my camera. So just had to quickly format it, get rid of some of the content. I'm back filming now. So hopefully I can pick up where I left off. So around that time there was about a year period where I had this large client who I was scaling, and then I had lots of the beginner clients. And honestly, I was working really fucking hard, 10, 12-hour days, whatever it is, like, always grinding. Main focus in my life was business. And I remember after like 12-ish month period, I looked back on my income and I was just like, shit, like I could have lived such a good life if I had just worked with that one client. My income wouldn't have been that much less. And I would have had like, if I wanted to, I could have worked like 1 hour a day and I would have earned I would have made a very similar amount to my total income. But instead, I was working like 10 to 12 hour days for not much more return. And I was like, I could have worked for that one client and then just created content, I don't know, for a year. And that probably would have had a longer, a bigger ROI, at least over the long term. Or I could have just had a full-on lifestyle business where I was just like training, traveling and doing whatever, right? And just like working 1 to 2 hours a day on this one client. So it's freaking crazy to me. I look back at my finances and I was like, man, like I've been like very stressed this past 12 months. I've been working hard, frustrated that I wasn't earning the money that I wanted to, working 10 to 12 hour days, probably more some days. And I could have just had like a really easy life, right? And I know that's probably not the best mindset to have, but that was like a big realization for me, like, shit, I'm doing something wrong here. Like I could have like a very similar quality of life working with just that one client, but I had like 5 to 10 others that were draining so much time and energy. Or if I could have just spent that spare time just working really, really hard to sign one extra big client I could scale. And maybe I didn't sign that client for 3 to 4 months, however long it took, but still I would have ended up working a lot less, being a lot happier and making a lot more money as well. So that's the biggest lesson. In the beginning, when you got a little bit of cash coming in, you got a little bit of experience, then really start to assess the companies that you work with and make sure you're going for the bigger companies, because the easier to work with, the better clients to work with, you'll make more money, you'll have less stress, do less work, and live a happier life. So thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.